So this one is action-packed, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I didn't want to slow it down. I didn't want to, Fisher price it. We get deep into Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, crypto economics, ICOs. If some of those terms are new to you, start writing them down. I actually highly recommend you get a piece of paper and you take some notes. I sit down with Ameer, who's arguably one of the top thought leaders in the space, and we just deconstructed not only the incredible resource he's created at Block Geeks, we've also talked about their business model, how they look at being involved in the Bitcoin, the crypto space, and the vision for the next 5 years, and talk about who are the good actors, the bad actors, and how you as a potential accountant, marketing expert, lawyer could get involved and actually make a killing in the Bitcoin crypto space. So I'm super excited to bring you Ameer, and be sure to leave a comment below. Let me know what the biggest takeaway was from this conversation. Cheers. You're in the crypto space, and what is Block Geeks?
Block Geeks in a nutshell is we focus on educating developers online. So if you're like a junior dev and you're trying to get into the space, we offer online training.
Who would be an example, like what would be similar kind of company?
Udacity.
Okay, Udacity. Any others?
Team Treehouse. And Pluralsight.
Pluralsight. So you know who your competitive set is, but not necessarily competitive.
We're a little bit different though too. Because,
totally. So what's different about what you guys are doing?
So one, we're very agnostically focusing just on blockchain technology, and number two, we're actually implementing crypto itself within Block Geeks.
Okay, agnostic meaning that
we don't just focus on Ethereum.
Okay, you focus on cryptocurrencies.
The tech, the
blockchain technology.
Yes.
Okay, so you're agnostic to that. You're teaching what though? Because people like those other sites, they are teaching curriculum. What's your curriculum going to be?
The difference between, let's say, you're a JavaScript developer is all you learn is just basic if this then that rules on JavaScript, right? Yeah. When it comes to blockchain architectural system, it's more than just coding. You have to understand human psychology, human behavior, economic principles, etc.
Yeah.
So it's different actual.
Why is that?
Because you're actually building a society online. It's not just code. When you look at Ethereum, when you look at Bitcoin, it's a society. And society has governance.
And most
rules.
people think it's just currency.
Yeah, but it's not.
Yeah. So essentially you're designing the laws that this society, this set of values, inside the currency, there's a set of rules, governance, principles, etc. And so it's really the human side and it's the technology side.
That comes together, yeah.
Cool. What do you think is going to be the unfair advantage in your business in this space?
For us, right away, is positioning. We're the world's biggest blockchain educational website already. We launched about a year and a bit ago. We're coming up to 3.5 million visits a month.
And how did you do that?
Content marketing.
Okay, well, I break that apart. Content marketing.
All right, so I'll tell you. So good friend of mine, Dimitri, which is Vitalik's father. So Vitalik invented Ethereum. Yeah. I got in the space about.
That's an unfair advantage to a certain degree.
It's a massive unfair advantage.
Yeah, the father of the son who created one of the second largest currencies is your business partner.
Yes.
All right, let's start there.
So for me, I was talking to Dimitri at that time, and I was trying to find more information about Bitcoin, about Ethereum, and everyone kept on pointing me to Reddit. I'm not a big fan of Reddit because there's a lot of, let's say, trolls over there, and you go down the rabbit hole. I'm like, I just want information. I don't want to read through a million threads to find one diamond in the rough. I just want to read a simple blog that, for me, I'm not a developer. Even though I understand technology, I'm not a coder itself. I just want to understand the 30,000-foot view. And then no one said it didn't exist, and it's kind of like mind-numbing to me. I'm like, Bitcoin's been around for 7+ years at this time. There's no resource for that. There's no resource for Ethereum. There's no resource for any of these other blockchains. I'm like, okay, I'll build it. So it came, and me and Dima were talking, we're like, let's do this. And then my second idea came as like, well, I personally want to learn a little bit coding myself. Yeah. Just to understand it, right? Not to do it, but to understand it. Yeah. So I went to Udacity, I went to the big three, and I'm like, okay, they must have it. Doesn't exist. So I started talking to all the other coders.
So you have the base coding stuff there, but they don't talk about the the differences between crypto implementation.
They don't have anything to do with crypto. Zero,
zilch, nada. It's just like literally if-then case statements, like basic JavaScript.
Yeah, and for them it makes sense. I don't think so. There's enough demand yet for them to justify the fact investing this many that much resource into it. Yeah. Then I'm like, fuck it, I'll make it myself. I've done it courses in the past, and so we just went in on it. And for me, my background is online marketing, growth hacking.
Those are like the two things: like content creation and like SEO content.
Yeah, technical SEO. So I'm like, fuck it, let's do this. And so I started focusing on really providing high value content. Like we didn't skim on resources for that. Like each blog that we come out, I wouldn't call it a blog, but I call it a resource. It's minimum 2,500 words, base bone minimum, highly researched, We put a lot of data into it.
Yeah, I just send everybody to Block Geeks.
Yeah.
It's easier for me.
So we spend, on average, when people talk about content ROI, we spend anywhere between $1,500 to $2,000 for these resources.
I appreciate it, man. I had a guy do CrossFit with Ian. He asked me, he's an accountant.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like pretty much a laggard-ish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the accountants are definitely not usually early adopters. And he was like, hey man, what do you know about, we're working
Crypto,
out. Yeah,
yeah.
he's like, what do you know about crypto? I was like, okay, don't open that. Like we're about to do a workout. And
Oh, the can of worms.
Yeah, and I was just like, go to Block Geeks, go spend 6 months, read everything you can.
Yeah.
And but I'm curious because I know you're building the accelerator, and then you've obviously built this massive knowledge base that's free. Anybody can go consume it, and you talk about like the right way to purchase and secure it and wallets and all that stuff. I know you're very vocal on ICOs and the craziness that's going on right now. But if somebody wanted to get involved, because this is the big question, is how would you suggest somebody get involved? Not necessarily having to buy Bitcoin and or cryptocurrency or having to become a programmer. What are your thoughts to somebody who's just passionate about, they see this as the future, right? It's not just a way to make money. How would you suggest they get involved?
Well, number one, they got to understand how blockchain works.
Perfect.
That's
How long
number
do you
one.
think that might take somebody?
It depends on their background. Like for me, it didn't take too long. Like I think even sitting down with somebody and just doodling it out
Yeah.
and looking at some YouTube videos that we have.
And you've done some whiteboard
Yeah, I've
video.
done whiteboard for that. Just doing that and maybe just really understand, taking your time instead of just like, most people skim through stuff, let's be honest, right? When you read a blog, like, what the, I read
Yeah,
it.
what's the big idea?
Yeah, the headline, sub-headline,
Yeah,
oh, I
sounds
got it, I'm gone.
good. I'm a pro.
Yeah, I'm a pro,
I'm
right?
an expert.
But really take your time and reread an art. Like for me to understand crypto economics, and I'm not an expert at all, like I just understand the 30,000 foot view, it took me 2 to 3 months.
Totally.
Of just reading and writing and reading and writing, reading and writing. I'm like, oh, finally.
And your output was to build this. It took me 6 months, nights. Like I think I was building Clarity, early days of Clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were looking at how do we use Bitcoin as a payment structure, right? Because that was kind of like a great PR angle. And I did that kind of like every night, sitting down, laying in bed with my wife, watching YouTube videos on Bitcoin. She's just like, what are you doing? Like, why aren't we watching whatever show? I'm just like, there's something there, right? And this was 4 years ago. But I mean, once they understand it, how do they get the most out of it? Like, how can they?
It depends on where they come from. Like, we have a lot of marketers coming into the space right now. Like,
Let's use my buddy Ian, who's an accountant, because I think that's probably more.
I'll give you a classic example.
Yeah.
So
How should he?
The biggest
get
problem
involved?
right now in the crypto space, especially for people who actually want to liquidate into cash, is taxes. Like for example, in Canada, it's capital gains tax. But capital gains tax, you have both profit and loss.
Yeah.
But profit and loss depending on entry point.
Yeah.
But entry point you can determine on how much money I sent from my bank account to an exchange.
Yeah.
But you can't really determine on the movements I made from exchange to exchange. That's not really trackable for the CRA. So the problem is like, okay, if it's capital gains tax, I can just claim a loss then, right? So I always recommend accountants really figure out the
or if you mind it.
Or if you mind it, right? Or if you got it somehow without
Somebody
just
gifted it
someone
to you.
gifted to you.
Yeah,
like
I gifted a ton of Bitcoin.
Fuck me too.
Yeah, remember we were saying, well, that's $5 of Bitcoin. And we were like, oh shit, they're gonna probably lose the money because it's like unsecured wallet.
Gifted a fucking like couple of dollars.
Yeah, nobody.
Right now it's like $400 almost.
Nobody paid attention. So you're saying figuring out what thing they're good at that could apply to the space.
Lawyers, accountants, people who specialize in taxes is much needed in the space.
Pretty much like anybody in the business infrastructure.
Yeah.
Programmers.
Yes.
Yeah. Because, I mean, what happens, like there was a lot of talk about like buy.com, I think was using crypto maybe. Like what's the implications for them? Because like they can't stay in crypto if they're purchasing and operating their business in fiat. So they're going to have to like, there's services that lets people buy in crypto and converts that to fiat so they don't have that exposure? Or is there like...
Well, it depends. Like let's say you as a Shopify store, you have the option of taking Bitcoin right now.
Is that a today thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
you have a plugin. It's dependent on you as a store.
Okay.
It depends on you as a business move of what you want to do with that revenue.
You're either gonna throw that as like an investment vehicle in your business and let that ride, or convert.
The problem right now with Bitcoin per se, it's really fucking slow and transaction
crazy.
Like, for you to send $1 right now, it costs you sometimes $3.
Oh, I saw what $500,000 transaction, and then 13 minutes later it's worth 40% less, and like there's no liquidity. Like
So it all depends. Like right now, Bitcoin isn't, and this is the big war right now going on with Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Litecoin, Monero. Each of them have a different use case and different technological.
And people don't want to invest the time to learn that. Like that's the part is they're buying stuff without knowing what they're buying.
Well, that's for anything. It's not just cryptocurrency. Like when people are like, oh, I lost money in real estate. I'm like, well, do you know anything about real estate?
Nothing.
You know, like for me, I don't really invest in stocks. Don't get me wrong, I have a little bit of stocks.
Yeah.
But I haven't really sat down and like invested a whole year.
The
of my
amount
life
of time required to actually be intelligent.
Confident enough to be like, I'm going to make my own bet on that.
Yeah. Yeah, and know that you're competing against some of the smartest people in the world with more resources, time, and energy, and for you to find the small little kind of this little crevice that they have not explored yet.
Well, human nature is this. There's a funny meme going around in the crypto space where you have two lineups. One lineup is tell me when to buy to sell. Another lineup is I'll actually tell you how it works.
Walk me through that. There's a lot.
So there's two kiosks.
Yeah.
Kiosk one is a big sign that says, I will tell you when to buy and sell.
Okay.
Right?
Is that like a done for you kind
of? Done for you.
Okay,
and there's like a big lineup of people like, I don't want to think. Just tell me what to do.
Do it yourself.
There's a dude who's like, I'll actually tell you how it works.
Yeah.
So make your own call. Like you're way smarter than 99% of the population.
Which the financial markets, I believe, I think it was Telex or whatever. Like a lot of these early investors, like Ray Dalio from Bridgewater, he used to send out a Telex like 40 years ago, and that was like a communication heartbeat. Then it was newsletters and financial news. So like that's been around forever. It's just a different implementation model today with crypto. So you're saying if you're in the business of helping businesses or infrastructure on businesses, figure out where the intersection of what they do meets crypto and kind of like whatever, and then spend the time to learn it.
Spend the time to learn it.
Where's your bets gonna be placed? As a Block Geek / whatever this accelerator.
The whole ecosystem, because Block Geeks focus on all developers of all different platforms, whether you're a Bitcoin Core developer, you're Ethereum developer, whether you're Hyperledger developer, or the many different blockchains that are slowly coming out right now or emerging overseas.
How do you pick what to teach if you're building all this content?
Supply and demand.
Okay, so you're just going to look at the ones that have the highest, search term, volume.
Yeah, and also talking to companies, talking to people, talking to projects.
Talking to like financial institutions saying, hey, where are you guys thinking of bringing the blockchain?
That's how we were going with our Hyperledger program.
Yeah, because you just realized that's the best implementation and they need it.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily because there's a lot of talk in Bitcoin or those infrastructure, you're just saying like.
And a lot of these camps, they don't like each other. Like the Bitcoin maximalists don't like Ethereum, right?
Yeah.
And they don't like anything like it's either Bitcoin or nothing else.
So you're approaching it with a capitalist approach.
Yeah, but
where's the opportunity?
There's an opportunistic approach, capitalistic approach, but also I want the whole ecosystem to grow as a whole. I don't like if you look at organisms and if you look.
And the way you would think about it is kind of like protocols, like SMTP, FTP.
Yeah, at least for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. So essentially, there's the blockchain as an infrastructure like TCP/IP. You've got the protocols like the internet, like email, so different applications. Yeah. And you're saying that you're going to figure out which protocol is being pulled by the corporate market the fastest, and let's ramp up, teach those developers that get the base.
Yeah, whether it's like I said, Bitcoin Core, working on the Bitcoin or Ethereum, or working on Hyperledger, any of these big platforms, we will provide training.
Cool. What's your thoughts on ICOs?
I think they're a revolutionary model of raising money.
Yeah.
I think how
why are they revolutionary?
So like
they're crowdfunding.
Yeah, they're very similar to crowdfunding as a Kickstarter. The only problem with the difference with a Kickstarter is I have an IOU promise on delivery for a product.
Yeah. So essentially it's a pre-purchase.
It's a pre-purchase. For an ICO, you're given nothing. You don't have equity in a company. You don't have voting rights in a company. You don't have shares in a company. You don't have dividends in a company. It's vaporware for the most part.
Yeah, until something gets materialized. And then the thing you got was essentially the fuel that allows you to use.
That's what they say.
That's what they say.
But 99% of these ICOs do zero crypto economic, let's say,
and that's process.
That takes the whole process of figuring out your governance model for your blockchain. And remember, most of these ICOs, they haven't built their own blockchain.
Yeah.
They built an ERC20 token, a computer language token on top of Ethereum.
Yeah.
And they use Ethereum as their base.
And there's not a lot of reference to model against.
No.
So essentially they're saying, I'm going to be successul implementing this new token structure, and I really don't have a whole lot of best practices to bar against.
So I ask questions. I'm like, number one, why do you need your own token? Why can't you just use Ether and Bitcoin? Because I don't want your shitty token.
Yeah.
Meaning
that there's liquidity in an Ethereum that wouldn't be.
Because I want to hold Ethereum. I don't want to hold your token.
Yeah.
Like when people say my token is a utility token, really? there's nothing fundamentally promising for me to even use your token.
Yeah.
Right. So
What would be an example of one of the ICUs that actually had a strong argument for a productive use of a token?
the recent one would be Filecoin.
Okay, and what's unique about Filecoin?
So they're looking at storage around the world. So how many terahashes and gigahashes of free space is on hard drives around the world,
Yeah.
which you can crowdsource that resource.
If people are willing to contribute to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one was the latest one I like. And there's also, what was the one that just happened right now? Polkadot.
Okay.
So that's
Walk
a
me through
side
that one.
that's a side chain to help scale blockchains.
Yeah.
It's not as, I personally don't like it as good as I like.
From a higher volume transaction speed and all
Yeah,
that stuff?
exactly. Yeah,
So
scalability.
it's pegged against is it a Bitcoin or Ethereum blockchain?
It can be used for now for Ethereum, but
Okay.
there's companies like Cosmos upstairs
Yeah.
that we work with that might be interoperability in the future.
Okay, amongst multiple.
Multiple blockchains. So think about this as a scaling solution. You have all these different blockchains, and you can use this scaling platform to interconnect everything together. And then
Yeah.
you can have something called a
Essentially, it's almost like a layer switch, like
Yes.
in the network space.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so between protocols, different levels of layers. Is there somebody trying to pull together the best practices and patterns for these things?
Yeah.
So who's, like, that's looking across Ethereum and Bitcoin and...
There's a bunch of people working in the space, but once again, we haven't defined exactly what crypto economics is.
Yeah.
So crypto economics in Ethereum is a little bit different than Bitcoin. Crypto economics in, let's say, Cosmos upstairs, where
Yeah.
they run, is a little bit different than anybody else. Everyone has their own definition.
Yeah.
So I think we're very early right now to figure out what is like some fundamental key principles that we can use.
Yeah.
But there's people already, you have Vlad from Ethereum Foundation, you have Vitalik, you have the Bitcoin core team, you have people from Cosmos, people from Polkadot, people from Neo in China.
How big is the market right now? Total market.
North of $200 billion.
$200 billion worth of value has been created from this technology that arguably 4 or 5 years ago would have been considered maybe like,
A joke.
yeah, a joke, a pyramid scheme.
They still consider a joke by many.
Fair enough. Where do you see the potential for this in the next 5 years?
Surpass $1 trillion.
$1 trillion total. Do you have any thoughts on price of Bitcoin, price of Ethereum? I mean, I know
It's
you don't
hard
like
to
me-
predict.
Yeah,
Like right
'Cause
now,
you don't know if it could just like it just takes one developer to do. I mean, recently.
Like Ethereum has its own issues, but it's not Ethereum itself. It's all these wallets and apps that plug in. Like for example, Parity is a multi-sig wallet, which had a faulty code, which somebody
yeah, 50 million or
more,
something.
man.
Was it
It's
more?
North coming up to like $300 million locked away.
Oh, that was it. 300 million.
Yeah.
So somebody changed something by accident.
Someone
now,
found an exploit in a bug, and it wasn't malicious. It wasn't like, it's like, what is this?
Yeah, and when he was exploring it, essentially it changed the signature for the wallet.
And
or
he's like,
whatever.
I'm the owner now, but I got locked up, and now like $300 million is locked, and no one can touch it. You can see it's almost like a clear safe. Imagine us
Yeah.
looking at a translucent safe, like, oh, there's the money, but
Nobody can get in it. Nobody's got the key. And arguably, you'll never get it because if you could,
Yeah.
then it would question the whole infrastructure.
well, no, people for this one, they're going to take their time, but as we stand this second, no one can access it.
Yeah.
Nobody.
But is there a potential way to get in?
well, if Ethereum does a hard fork like they did with the DAO, so the
Yeah, they're
DAO,
not going to do a hard fork for 300 million,
no, they
are
won't. No, Vitalik came out and said we're doing nothing.
So essentially, it's gone.
Yeah, unless the actual Parity company itself bites the bullet and pays out
Pays out what?
the money.
But I mean, what's their valuation? I mean,
I don't know.
it's not 300 million.
Parity is a tech company. They're the ones who were offering the wallet. Imagine you're a tech company offering security for somebody and you get exploited. Like,
Typically, you have insurance, but I'm pretty sure
Typically.
nobody's going to touch that.
there's no insurance for this.
No.
No. That's another big
So
market.
arguably, it's, I mean, unless they bite the bullet, agreed, the chances of that happening very low. So essentially, it's gone
As we stand this second. It's
as we
gone.
stand. So you're saying you're going to get involved in the ecosystem. You've got the online education. You've got essentially the free content, which is blockgeeks.com. You're going to create some training
We
programs.
already started creating it. We have full in-house teachers upstairs.
Okay, that's what that was. I saw those people. And then what is that called?
That's Block Geeks.
Okay, Block Geeks is both
So
the free content.
the lead generation for us, there's two lead generations we have. We have our guides, which gives us up to
And anybody could do this. Like that's the big thing that I feel like people don't understand is there's nothing unique to Ameer that said you're anointed,
I don't know.
right? You just said I'm going to spend the time and energy to understand this, interact
it.
with people, build the network, produce content that's valuable.
And also not be greedy and not be sucked up, because like I did my own I've been approached by many people. I know all the crypto funds in the space. I've been approached by many people doing ICO for Block Geeks.
Yeah.
I could have easily raised $50 million.
Easily.
Easily.
Yeah.
But I got more morals and ethics for that. I actually want to build a business that makes money.
Yeah.
Like we just launched.
That's hard. That's a hard part for me. Is I've got probably 6 friends that have created ICOs, and privately I can't stand behind.
And I'll
them.
put $1 million bet on it that all of them burn.
I know, and that's the part where it's like there's one thing of not participating, and there's another part where it's like I really feel it's unethical. I know that there's a lot of money to be made.
Yeah.
I know that in some way you've spun it in your mind that it's okay to do it, but at the end of the day, unless there's something that I don't know.
Well, there's 2 camps I would say for this. There's people who, like maybe your friends are in camp A. There's people who really don't know the space and they really view it as, oh, this token is a cool thing and it's all about raising money.
I've got to believe that's what it
right?
is.
And there's camp 2 where it's like, I know everything.
Yeah, well, that's
and I know exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right? They're the malicious, intelligent people. They know exactly. Majority of people are camp A.
Yeah.
Like if you look at their ICOs, like these guys don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, and you can tell by their white papers.
Everything,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So they're not professional scammers. They just aren't aware.
Yeah.
Right? They haven't done their due diligence and see a money and like, oh, I couldn't raise money from. I always tell people like, why do you need $20 million at the beginning, right? First of all, a majority of these tokens are not even real business model. The business model is speculation, which is not a business. Second of all, I always tell people, why do you need even $1 million to start? Like, why can't you even go make me an MVP? Like, why can't you go on, what's a wireframe online? Envision. Go on fucking Envision. Hire a guy for $1,000 on Envision.
And that's fancy.
That's fancy too, right?
Like UX Pin or Balsamic, even
right?
lower fidelity.
So $1,000. Hire a dude on Upwork for $1,000 on Envision, and get your thing made for me so I can physically see it.
See it, yeah. And explain it to me.
Like no one's taking these steps.
Written word thing, copy paste, white paper.
And you see these some ICOs are raising 50 million, 200 million, but it's slowed down right now. Saturation's gone.
Thank goodness.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just overcapitalization is an argument as well. It's tough because there's the innovator in me, the capitalist in me that's excited for this new method of funding. I don't want to slow down innovation. I believe that
majority of these ICOs aren't innovating anything at all.
Fair enough. I guess there's also the part that it's exposing people to a new market. And you know what I mean? Like sometimes there's the motivation, right? Like you need to be motivated to learn something, and sometimes the upside is the motivation, right? So like people learn how to code the internet just because they were like, this is going to be a big thing, not necessarily because they were passionate about.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's a necessary evil.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I'm like torn with, because it's like, yes, there was a lot of people burned. And I guess that's the problem. I don't mind the folks that willingly know this is a very unproven market and they know that there's risk.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of the investors buying the currency, right? Like, when I got involved in Bitcoin, I knew very well this could go to zero. There was no liquidity per se. I was cool holding this for 30 years. Like I don't really, like at the end of the day, it's either going to be a huge success or a huge failure. But most people don't have that, and a lot of people funding these ICOs, and maybe they're not. Maybe it's my assumption that a lot of these people are not educated. Maybe they're educated. Maybe they just want to be participating in the upside, and some of them get stuck on the downside. I don't know.
For what I saw,
do you think people are getting burned?
I see a lot of white papers.
Yeah.
I get pitched every day, like ridiculous amounts. I would say 99% of people.
Do you have like a standard video response right now? You're just sending people, or?
I just don't reply. I don't.
Okay, you just don't even reply.
But like some of them looks.
I mean, if people follow you on Facebook,
it looks enticing, like some white papers, and like people understand, like for a good proper white paper and auditing the team and talking, it takes me like a fucking week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like do your due diligence.
Yeah.
I would honestly say 99% have no clue what they're doing.
No clue.
The talent's not out there. Like I'll give you an example. At the most, there's maybe 500, 600 legitimate full stack devs who understand blockchain.
Yeah.
Not just front.
And then how many crypto economic experts?
Maybe less than 20, 30.
Yeah. Not a lot.
In the globe.
So essentially, you're saying I'm making the bet on the free content. I'm then creating the training program, and then there's an accelerator of sorts.
Yeah. So that's L4 with Dimitri, Jason.
Okay.
So I'm there right now as more special advisor for them right now. So what we're focusing on, so it's Dimitri, it's Jason Matheson, we have Ethan, we have Josh, we have Richard, and then we have Liam Horn. Am I missing anybody? Oh, and Jeff Coleman. And Vlad, there's a bunch of people.
Yeah.
So basically our main thing is we're focusing on protocol layer thing, and we're gonna be focusing on companies.
So multiple companies focus on protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least right now.
Yeah. And what is the expectation of these companies? Are they revenue generating through corporate
The first one
support?
we just announced, state channels, which every blockchain in the world needs.
Say, what is this?
State channels.
Yeah.
So you can scale, think, million transactions a second.
Okay, so it's like blocking on the chain?
So it's off-chain.
Yeah.
It's an off-chain solution where all the transactions of a business will be done on this, but when we actually have to confirm if everything's legit, then it talks back to the root blockchain.
Yeah, essentially it like packages it up into what it should look like and it says, is this good?
So think about like exactly. Store the information, let's double check.
It's transactions for a database, essentially for blockchain.
We announced that. No monetization system for that.
So is it going to be open source with
open source.
Okay, so is it going to be a support, like a traditional open source kind of revenue model where
now
they can
there
pay?
might be ways to monetize that in the future. We
Yeah.
don't know, but this is.
But we know open source has, there's been.
I think right now we're in a revolution of open source.
Yeah.
Like the blockchains of the future that succeed will be all 100%
open source. Yeah. That way that they can be trusted, they can get
Audited.
adoption. I mean, it's Linux. These are
the reason why Linux didn't take. Don't get me wrong, Linux took off.
Yeah.
Right? It's the biggest open source.
It took a while.
project. There's no incentive, but now imagine now you have incentive.
Yeah.
Where you can be an early developer on a platform like one of these.
You're saying that some of the developers contributing are going to get paid in coins?
Well, look at Ethereum.
I don't understand. So developers on Ethereum get paid in Ethereum if they create value?
The early people that worked on Ethereum, whether it was in Ethereum or Ethereum related projects, got paid in Ethereum token back then.
Who paid them?
The foundation.
Okay, so that was like on contract. They had like bug bounties.
Yeah, bug bounties, or like they have, let's say.
See, this is even the bounty concept. I know that Google.
BlockX has bounty coming up in a month.
Dude, there's a company now that does this at scale for Google, Microsoft. Like they essentially manage the bounty program.
So Zeppelin is one of the biggest dev teams in the blockchain space. Really good. They're located in Argentina, and they're just creating this consensus model around where they're gonna create open source bug bounties for all these different blockchain programs. Even BlockX are having bounties. So basically what we're having is you get paid in Ether. So let's say you're a student, you're like, oh cool, I just did a bunch of these courses, I know some information. Another dev comes around and asks a question. I don't want to spend hours on Stack Exchange or
trying
GitHub.
to answer it.
Yeah, I'm like, listen, $20 worth of Ether, and you already know the answer because you took our courses. Like, fuck, I want $20 in Ether. Go answer within 24 hours. You get your Ether.
This is an interesting model that I think it really takes that whole idea of crowdfunding or crowd, whatever the Wikipedia.
Well, they just launched their blog too. If you saw Wiki Tribune, where they do crowd sourcing information for if is this real or not information.
Oh, that needs to happen. So it's kind of like, what's that site that would do that?
Crowdsourcing?
No, they were about like if it's real news or not.
Snoops?
Yeah, Snoops. Yeah, so kind of like Snoops, but a little different.
Snoops is centralized, controlled by one
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
It's like, whatever
That's
that
the problem.
guy...
So their bias is definitely going to show up in their editorial. So this is kind of like crowdsourced, unbiased. So you create, is it an incubator then, or are the companies? Okay, so the companies are being created through that advisory board.
L4,
the talent is, I'm assuming, going to come from the training?
Yeah, there's going to be a bunch who want to apply afterwards. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, we're very early in the stage right now, and it's a next 4 or 5 years all experimental.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of failures, but through the ashes, Phoenix rises.
Yeah.
So I think right now, wherever you are, if you're in for the long game, you're good.
What's your, as we wrap up, what's the thing that you're most excited about over the next 5 years in this space?
Seeing it grow globally. So even right now, even though crypto, like in our inner circle, it's like, oh, it's all the rage. Like, go walk on the street. Or like, what is Ethereum?
Nobody knows.
What the fuck is this, right?
Nobody
$200 billion? Netflix is $200 billion. Netflix comes around. Ray Dalio Bridgewater is a $150 billion fund, right? One fund, right? The big national wealth funds like from UAE or Dubai, they want to invest in less than a minimum $100 billion, right? So we're still small. For me, I want global. The biggest problem in the crypto space right now is like it's small. Plus, there's no talent. So like, I want to literally train 10,000 devs a year.
Is there value though? Okay, so let's say it goes from 200 billion to $1 trillion. That increase is going to come from the price increase based on demand. Is there value arguments for that level of demand on the currency?
I wouldn't say it's demand. I would say it's more hedging. So a lot of these people are coming in. They're looking like the fiat is people.
So are they truly hedging against global potential economic downturn?
Yeah, at least right now, Bitcoin and like Monero, Ether, maybe in the future, it's a good hedge. Like look at fiat currency. You have inflationary rates of 2% minimum per year. times that by inflationary rates of everything else around you, comes on average that your dollar has an inflationary rate of 5% per year
Easily.
minimum.
Yeah, easily.
So you just sitting on your money in the bank is the worst possible thing you
it
can
doesn't take
do.
long for it to go to a whole lot of nothing.
So a lot of these people are
purchasing
trying to
power.
look at it, and plus crypto's a brand new asset class in general.
Yeah.
So they're looking like, how can I hedge my bets against something? At least maybe have maybe 1% to 5% of my portfolio within crypto.
That's awesome. Cool, dude.
Cool,
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Okay.
Dan and I were talking about cryptocurrency, blockchain technology. It's pretty much all the rage today. Our company, BlockGeeks, focus on training developers online. So if you're like a junior stack developer, or even a senior stack looking to learn about whether Ethereum or Bitcoin coding or Hyperledger coding, we offer that services. Plus, we're the world's largest blockchain educator online. But the whole notion of the talk that Dan and I just had is like, with this new ecosystem happening right now, regardless of if you are a developer, if you're an accountant, if you're a marketer, if you're just a curious bee, is like really take your time and understand what this technology is. It's not like anything other before, or it's not like anything came. Well, let me phrase this. There's never been a technology like this before. And this technology isn't new. It's just how they stack this technology together to create a new ecosystem around it. So my advice to anybody is really understand how the blockchain works. Take your time, don't rush, right? It took me a while to understand it. And once you do understand it, then you can figure out how you can contribute to it. We're just at the beginning right now. Like imagine, I always give it the comparison to like Netscape. Like Netscape came out like what, 20 something years ago, give or take. We're on that stage of the blockchain. So we got like 20 plus years to go till we see maturation. Like look at e-commerce. Like for example, in China, 90% of purchases is done on WeChat, right? On mobile. But if you look at, for example, North America, I don't even think so. It's north of 20% for e-commerce. So even e-commerce has a long way to go. So we're just at the very beginning of blockchain technology. So my advice to anybody, regardless of it, like I said, if you're a developer, if you're an accountant, if you're a lawyer, whoever you are, understand the technologies, join your local meetup, go to blockgeeks.com and get involved.